the third part of our 12-part series, Healthy Heart, the Wise Woman Way, with Susan Wade at Time Monk Radio. Hello, Susan. Welcome back to Time Monk Radio.
Hi, Gemini. How you doing this week?
I'm doing well, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about linden. I bought the linden flowers to make the infusion.
Oh, wonderful! But you haven't done it yet.
I have done it, actually.
Oh,
I
good.
love it.
Doesn't it taste marvelous?
Yes,
oh,
and I love,
so
as I bring it up to my lips, I can also smell how fragrant it is. It's a beautiful, beautiful plant.
It truly, truly is. You know, linden sure smells sweet. It goes a song about linden, and it does indeed. We'll be talking more about linden because I think linden is very important to heart health. Now, let's see. We had an assignment last week, which was to start checking out the foods that we bought and seeing whether or not they had hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated fats in them to start cutting down on trans fatty acids. So I hope that you had a good week doing that, and if you didn't think that a week was long enough, well, you can continue to do it this week. As a matter of fact, it's something that I do all the time, and I'll tell you why. Because you can't trust that a food product that you have bought is going to be the same every single time you buy it. I first became aware of this with my mom and dad, and I saw that my mom was continuing to serve some crackers and things that she had been buying for decades. What she didn't know was when she started out buying those things, they had safe fats in them, but the formulas for creating those crackers changed over the years, and they started using hydrogenated and partially hydrogenated fats. Now, while it's true that on the back of the package it's supposed to tell you how much trans fatty acid is in there, if the amount of trans fatty acid in a serving is less than 1, then they can say 0. And so what a lot of food manufacturers did was they simply reduced the serving size. They continued to use hydrogenated and partially hydrogenated fats, which create these trans fatty acids, but rather than be forced to admit on the label that there were trans fatty acids in their foods, they reduced the serving size so that they can say there is 0. 0, unfortunately, doesn't mean 0. It means less than 1. So if you eat 2 servings of a food, and these trans fats are going to be found in the kinds of foods where we would be very likely to eat more than 2 servings. They're going to be found in chips and crackers, snack foods, cookies, those kinds of things. Then you are actually getting trans fatty acids. So if you did your homework last week, you might want to continue your homework this week and look a little more deeply. Actually read the ingredients. Don't just trust what the label is telling you, because there are ways to lie about that. Okay, we're still looking at the basics. We started out by looking at the basics of the heart. How does the heart do what it does? And then, of course, last week, we had to add all the blood vessels, because we saw that it wasn't just a heart, it was a cardiovascular system, and that the heart and the blood vessels were the 2 parts of a system, and that we needed to keep both parts of that system healthy. We've looked at foods that can keep the heart and blood vessels healthy, as well as a variety of special herbs that we can use. Let's go back to the heart this week and look at the heart as a muscle. I think about a class that I was in, and it was being given by an elderly white male herbalist. And he looked out at the class and he said, "What is the strongest muscle in the body?" Well, now, I'm the kind of student who always likes to have the right answer and always likes to raise my hand first. And so I was just about to when I realized that he didn't know what the strongest muscle in the body was, and that if I told him, I would probably embarrass him so much that he would never be able to look at me again. So I didn't raise my hand, and I kept my mouth shut. His answer was the heart, the strongest muscle in the body. My answer is the uterus, the strongest muscle in the body. Can you imagine his heart pushing out a 8 or 9 pound baby? Probably not going to happen. But the take-home point is the heart is a muscle. It contracts and releases. And this rhythmic contraction and release, this pulsation, is called the heartbeat. Now, most muscles in our body work in opposition to another muscle. In other words, they stretch or contract in opposition to another muscle to move us. So if you take your finger and put it on your nose and then point that finger away from you, you have moved the muscles in your arm. Do it again. Bring it to your nose and then point it away from you, and you will see that a muscle on one side of your arm contracted and the other one lengthened, and then to do the opposite thing, the opposite muscle contracted and its pair lengthened. So this is how we move, but the heart doesn't have a partner to tug against. So both the heart and the uterus are muscles that are built up in a spiralic shape. If the entire heart contracted at once, bump, then nothing would happen. It's something that we have to explain to the apprentices when we're teaching them to milk the goats. If you just go out there and grab the goat and squeeze, nothing is going to come out. You have to squeeze in a spiral fashion or in a pattern. In other words, this finger, then this finger, then this finger, then this finger. And that's how the heart contracts and releases to circulate the blood, moving blood through the 4 chambers of the heart in this rhythmical spiralic motion. The heart muscle is timed by the nervous system. A natural pacemaker signals the start of each heartbeat. A strong heart requires a well-nourished, at ease, and regularly paced network of nerves. So, as we said at the very beginning of our shows, we can't separate the heart out from the rest of the body. The rest of the body is nourished by the heart, and the rest of the body contributes to what's going on with the heart. So we need a strong and healthy nervous system. Have you ever noticed that when the nerves are excited, the heart pounds? When we're frightened, when we're anxious, or we're upset, then the nervous system is causing stress on the heart. Oat straw is one of the star herbs. When there are heart problems that are complicated by a weakened or erratic nervous system, to function really well, a muscle has to be toned. And to be toned, muscles need to be fed and to be exercised. We talked about that last week when we were talking about the circulatory system, and that there were 2 things that we needed for the circulatory system. That we needed for the circulatory system to have exercise. We were using the astringents for that, but we also needed for it to be fed. And so exactly the same thing with the heart muscle. That muscle needs regular physical movement. Whether lifting weights or dancing, doing Tai Chi or running marathons, walking or stretching, the key to a healthy heart muscle is movement. A long time ago, I read a book called something like Why Conductors Don't Have Heart Attacks. And it was written by someone who conducted a symphony orchestra and noticed that conductors of orchestras were very unlikely to have heart attacks. This person started looking at what was going on and claimed in this book that it was the vigorous upper body movements of the orchestra conductor. Think of them. And, you know, their arms way up here, their elbows up high and moving. That was so important to heart health. As a matter of fact, this book actually laid out a series of exercises in which you, in a certain way, pretended to direct a large orchestra. And again, those pieces go on for a long time. We're not talking about just doing this little thing that we're directing the orchestra here for a couple of minutes. We're talking about pieces that go on for a very long time. So we're getting some real movement there in those muscles. Are you starting to feel like, here comes all the stuff about exercise, and I don't exercise nearly enough? You know what? you probably exercise enough. And we could all exercise more, couldn't we? But even 2 minutes per day of exercise hard enough to make your heart pound will make a big difference in the tone of your heart muscle. It's true. One of the things we see is that sitting contributes to heart disease and moving contributes to heart health. I was very interested when I got my Fitbit, which is an electronic pedometer, and it actually calculates how many minutes a day I engage in hard physical activity. It rates my physical activity as hard, medium, and basically you are sitting around, girl. And while I got lots and lots and lots and lots of medium exercise, I generally walk 3 miles a day. I do yoga and Tai Chi. It was fascinating to me to see how little really heart-pounding exercise I got and how easy it was for me to add a couple of sprints here and there during the day to build that up to 2 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day, 4 minutes a day. It doesn't take a lot. Parking my car a little further, running a couple of blocks, walking up those stairs instead of taking the elevator. All of that has helped me so that I can honestly say that every day I get at least 2 minutes of exercise hard enough to make my heart pound. Put on some music and dance, or direct the orchestra, whether you know what you're doing or not. Get a walk partner and commit to walking. Every single movement works. I've been teasing for a long time that what we all need is something that attaches to our computers and once every hour shuts the computer down and says, I'm not going to do any more work for you unless you come back here with your heartbeat elevated. Well, it turns out that there is an app now that will remind you that you're supposed to be doing some exercise on an hourly basis. It's a step in the right direction, but for most of us, a reminder really isn't good enough. It really has to be somebody just shutting the whole system down and saying, no, you got to go out and you got to do something now. All right? One of my favorite kinds of exercise is sexual exercise. I mean, orgasm. Sexual activity and orgasms are cardiovascular exercise. As a matter of fact, I had one of my past apprentices, who is an MD, take me aside and ask me how much sexual exercise my partner was getting. And she said, you know, he has some heart issues, and so I'm going to charge you with making sure that he has more sexual exercise, because as far as she was concerned, it was one of the best exercises for the heart. You may laugh, and that's okay, because laughter is probably the second best cardiovascular exercise after sexual exercise and orgasm. So if that makes you laugh, then you are definitely laughing in the right direction. As a matter of fact, since I started working on this series of talks about heart health and this series of classes at the university, A Healthy Heart, the Wise Woman Way, I have started a new practice in my life. And I suspect that I will keep this practice up for a very, very long time. It's a very simple practice. And you could take it as your homework for this week. I laugh for approximately a minute before I go to sleep. I really do. I turn off the light. I blow out the candle. I lay in bed and I go, ha, 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 ha. Now, the first time I started doing this, I wasn't sure what my sweetheart thought was going on, but he started laughing too, and the two of us just laid there and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed until the laughter finally died away, and we went to sleep. I must tell you that since I started laughing before I go to sleep, I have gotten such deep and nourishing rest. And, you know, we find that heart attacks frequently happen early in the morning. So I'm thinking that something that we do right before we go to sleep in terms of good exercise for the heart is certainly a move very much in the right direction. You could also, if you want to do me one better, you could laugh when you wake up. And I'm actually finding for myself that without particularly telling myself to do this, it's happening. I'm actually waking up in the morning, finding myself laughing. It's like I laugh myself to sleep, and then when I wake up, I've been laughing, and so I just want to keep on laughing. Laughing during the day. Of course, you can laugh during the day, too. When I mentioned this to someone, they said, well, I do laugh yoga. And I was astonished. Apparently, laughter is really being looked at and used as a superb cardiovascular tonic, not to mention a wonderful way to keep from getting down in a world that seems to be full of problems. Laughter is definitely something that cheers the heart and helps the heart a lot, too. In addition to movement, whether it's orgasmic movement or laughter movement or exercise movement, there are also cardiotonic herbs. Last week, we looked at some vascular tonics, which are herbs that tonify and nourish the blood vessels. And this week, we're going to look at 3 herbs that are nourishing and tonifying directly to the muscle of the heart. We could add ginkgo here as a 4th one, but we talked about ginkgo at some length last week, so I'll just remind us about ginkgo. And let's look a little more deeply at Hawthorn, Motherwort, and Comfrey. 3 incredible cardiovascular tonics. Hawthorn is the best known of all cardiac herbal tonics, and it is possibly the most valuable tonic remedy for the cardiovascular system found in the plant kingdom. Hawthorn is so generous that using any part of the hawthorn will get you good results. My personal preference is to buy the dried hawthorn berries. I fill a jar a quarter full of dried hawthorn berries, and then I fill that jar right up to the top with 100 proof vodka. And this makes a hawthorn berry tincture. It could be ready to use in 6 weeks, but because I'm using dried plant material, I like to let my hawthorn berry tincture sit for an extended time. As a matter of fact, I tend to make 4 quarts of hawthorn berry tincture at the beginning of the year, and to not use those for a year. So I always try to be ahead by a year on my hawthorn berry tincture. Robin Rose Bennett, who did the Heart Health Seminar, teleseminar with me, which you can still listen to if you go to SusanWeed.com and look at my list of teleseminars, loves hawthorn leaves and flowers, and she makes a hawthorn leaf and flower infusion. And she says that that is one of her favorite ways of consuming hawthorn. So it matters not how you make it, whether you're using the dried leaves and flowers as an infusion, whether you're using them as a tea, tincture of the fresh berries, tincture of the dried berries. Oh, one of my past apprentices just sent me some hawthorn berry jam. What a way to start my day. Nice piece of whole wheat bread, a little organic butter, and some hawthorn berry jam. Oh, so good for the heart. Hawthorn is in the rose family, and the rose family provides us with lots and lots and lots of fruit, including apples, cherries, peaches, plums, almonds. So sometimes people say to me, is hawthorn safe to take if I'm taking medication? And I say, ask your doctor. Is it safe to eat an apple? Is it safe to eat strawberries or cherries? These are all members of the same family. So if it's safe to eat these fruits, then it is certainly safe to take hawthorn either as an infusion or as a tincture. Hawthorn teaches the older heart how to function optimally. It shows the aging heart how to make the most of the energy available to me. Hawthorn, to me, seems to contain the original message. Like a game of telephone, the message of what to do and how to do it has to be passed from cell to cell as heart cells replicate and inevitably degrades. Hawthorn restores the original message to the heart cells, so they become more efficient, more effective, and more capable, especially when they are under stress. Hawthorn is the guardian of the heart. It wards off heart weakness following pneumonia or diphtheria. It protects the elderly heart, and it eases the stressed heart. And Hawthorn can be used to speed recovery from heart attack, bypass surgery, or stent placement. As a cardiotonic, Hawthorn is ideal for those who want to keep their heart healthy, as well as for those who already have heart problems. Regular daily use of Hawthorn helps to prevent coronary artery disease and reduces angina pain in those who have narrowed coronary arteries. Patients who have reduced cardiac output show marked improvement in heart function when using Hawthorn, and those who have normal cardiac output feel stronger and more centered. The Commission E of Germany, which is the commission that decides whether or not herbs are safe and whether or not they're effective, lists these confirmed effects of Hawthorn. 1, it eliminates mild bradyarrhythmias. 2, it relieves feelings of pressure and tightness in the chest. 3, it counters cardiac insufficiency. 4, it supports the aging heart. And 5, it has a tremendous effect on the heart's ability to move blood throughout the body. Herbalists and researchers tell us that Hawthorn increases coronary circulation by dilating the coronary arteries. It increases the strength of the heartbeat. It stabilizes the rate of the heartbeat. It decreases rapid heartbeat. It normalizes blood pressure and increases the rate of blood flow through the heart and the overall health of the heart. What's fascinating to me is that Hawthorn is not a drug. You can't give it to someone with low blood pressure and have the blood pressure go lower. If you give Hawthorn to someone with low blood pressure, it brings the blood pressure up. And if they have high blood pressure, it brings it down. One of the characteristics that we look for in someone who will benefit from Hawthorn is, do they have a feeling of oppression or congestion or tightness in the chest? Hawthorn would be, boing, the thing that we think about in those kinds of circumstances. So Hawthorn works well with all blood pressure drugs, blood pressure lowering drugs, cholesterol lowering drugs, cardiac drugs. Very safe, very positive. I personally take a dropper full of Hawthorn on a daily basis at the age of 68. I must admit, I have an aging heart. Motherwort. If somebody said to me, what do you like better, Motherwort or Hawthorn? I would just look at them and say, I can't choose. I love them both so much. Ask Motherwort to ally with you in tough times, in shaky times, in enraging times, in scary times, in depressed times, in grief-filled times, when your nerves are frayed, and before stressful events. You're not going to use Motherwort as an infusion or as a tea. Dried Motherwort tastes incredibly bitter. Fresh Motherwort, which is what we make the tincture of, doesn't taste so bitter. So Motherwort tincture actually tastes quite fine. And it is the tincture of the fresh flowering top that we use. Do be sure when you buy Motherwort tincture that you read the label very carefully and that the tincture has been made from the fresh plant. I'm sorry to say that a great number of Motherwort tinctures for sale out there are made from dried Motherwort, and in my experience, they just don't have the same effect, the same strength of effect, or the same rapidity of effect as the Motherwort made from the actual fresh plant does. Motherwort is a weed. It grows in many, many gardens. And if you're interested, you might look around for some motherwort and wait till it flowers and make your own motherwort tincture. Remember, I have over 100 YouTubes posted in which you see me talking about and working with plants and making preparations. And yes, there's a YouTube of me making a motherwort tincture so you can see exactly how it's done. The botanical name of motherwort is Leonurus cardiaca. That means Leo, lion, cardiac, heart. The lion-hearted plant is one of the finest heart tonics known. It is a scentless member of the mint family, and when tinctured in full flower, can be used in doses as small as 5 drops. Motherwort is an ally in both acute situations like panic attacks and in chronic problems like drug-resistant hypertension. Taking motherwort is like sitting in your mother's lap. It eases anxiety and gives you heart. A dose of motherwort can fill you with courage, the courage to do what needs to be done. A dose of motherwort tincture can nourish your pride in yourself and help you open your heart to others. Motherwort lowers blood pressure. A dropperful of motherwort tincture several times a day brings moderately high blood pressure readings down to normal within 6 to 10 weeks. Is it safe? It's as safe as mint tea. Remember, this is a plant in the mint family. All heart medicines, including all classes of hypertension medicine, are safe to take with motherwort, and safer yet to eliminate when motherwort returns your heart and blood vessels to health. I have hundreds and hundreds of students who have asked me for help with high blood pressure, some of whom are already taking medication, and some of whom are not. All of them have had wonderful, wonderful results with motherwort. We'll talk a little more specifically about dealing with high blood pressure next week when we're really going to get into the nitty-gritty of blood pressure. And I'll talk lots more about motherwort and its effects on blood pressure when we get together next week. Motherwort has a direct and profound tonifying effect on the heart muscle itself. Regular use of motherwort tincture helps the heart to beat more rhythmically and with more coordination, thus helping even a weak heart muscle become more effective. Motherwort also strengthens the blood vessels and gives them more stretch and more elasticity. And regular use keeps the blood flowing smoothly without thinning it. Motherwort counters the oxidation of lipids and soothes inflamed areas like a mother's caress on a fevered brow. There is just so much I could tell you about motherwort, but we have to have time for just a little mention of Comfrey. Comfrey leaf infusion strengthens muscles throughout the body and strengthens their ability to function well. If someone had a heart problem, I wouldn't choose Comfrey first, but I would ask them to include Comfrey leaf infusion in what they regularly do as a kind of background helper, tonic to the heart, in addition to the other things that we're doing to help the heart be healthy. Once again, we have moved through our time together. Come and visit me at SusanWeed.com. If you want a more personal relationship, visit WiseWomanMentor.com. And if you're really excited about what we're doing here, then please be aware that I have a new course called A Healthy Heart, The Wise Woman Way at the Wise Woman University. You can find out more about that by going to the wisewomanbookshop.com. Thanks again, Gemini, and green blessings to everyone.
Thank you, Susan. This concludes the third part of our 12-part series, Healthy Heart, The Wise Woman Way, with Susan Weed at Time Monk Radio.